Welcome to another episode of the Dental Insiders with your host, Matthew Petchel and Michael Dunn. The Dental Insiders is a podcast for dentists, dental team members, and industry professionals. We share stories from clinicians and industry visionaries with the goal of providing an entertaining and informative look at the industry we share. And our guest today is Mr. Georg Eickhoff, President of Amann Girrbach, North America. Welcome, Georg. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much for the invitation. I'm happy to be here and answer all your questions.
Yeah, right.
Excellent.
We're going to do the entire podcast in German.
Heute auf German, heute auf Deutsch gesprochen, ja.
So we are going to, I'm going to say what I know in German.
Yeah.
And then you're going to take it, the rest of it, the next 15 minutes.
No.
Das Flugzeug ist blau.
Good for you. Okay,
All right.
no, we're not going to do that.
All right.
Although we do have some German-speaking listeners and viewers.
I'm certain we do.
And so now they probably stopped listening and
They've
viewing
moved
after,
on. They've said
after
no.
that. So let's get right into it.
I'm actually already impressed by how perfectly you pronounce my name. And I usually run into these presentation and introducing myself situations where people, come up with all kind of funny pronunciations. I think you did a perfect job here.
Well, my
I
job
was
is
not
done.
surprised by the suggestion of making it in German.
It's
Excellent.
back to me.
Excellent.
All right.
So Amann Girrbach is a company, I believe, over 70-year history, well known in Europe, gaining brand awareness here in the U.S. So just kind of for our audience here, tell us a little bit about Amann Girrbach and how it's different from other companies.
Okay. You mean other than the name is just impossible to pronounce correctly?
Other than that, yeah.
Well, Amann Girrbach is it's a dental group that is headquartered in Austria. It's been around for 80, 90 years. It evolved out of a merger of two companies, German and Austrian. The Austrian part is headquartered at the Lake of Constance. Mm-hmm. It's really in a technology hub in Europe. It's within a 2 hours drive of Mercedes, BMW, Vita, Ivoclar, Audi, EADS. So it's a technology hub. That's where the whole R&D team sits, and international sales marketing. And the German part actually dates back to the 1920s of the last century. Both companies have been in dental for the entire time of their existence. So we're truly dental company. And I think as you ask, what differentiates us from other companies, I think this is one of the major differentiators. We're not supplying to a variety of industries, and one of them happens to be dental industry, but we really grew out of a dental company, dental background. And so I think we just have, we don't have so much time, so otherwise I would have shared the founding story, which is really a beautiful story. But for our listeners, I think us having a dental background is one of the differentiators. The second one, when we talk about the portfolio, what differentiates us is, especially if you look at, what companies have evolved over the last few years, you see that there is a lot of mill companies, and there is scanner companies, there is software companies, there is consumable companies. Amann Girrbach really is a system provider. Yeah, we've always been that. And by system, I not only mean, even when we just offered an analog portfolio, we always placed a lot of emphasis on providing systems and methods rather than just mere products. And the same is true for CAD/CAM. We're providing a fully integrated system. From a strategic positioning perspective, you've been in industry for a long time, so there have been the milling center outsourcing approach times, and we are proud to really call ourselves one of the leaders and drivers of the in-house lab movement. We actually have the trademark of the in-house movement.
The in-house movement.
I believe so much in that, and as we have been, the partner of the labs, for so long, we always believe that, bringing back the value into the lab, this is the way to go. And I think that's where we are today. And I think maybe during the interview, we're going to talk a little more about this revolution, this digital revolution that has been going on. But we're definitely, we consider ourselves a strong supporter of the in-house movement.
So, Yeah. So in talking about that in-house movement, and you talked about, digital technologies and the digitization, I guess, of the workflow of restorative dentistry. Obviously, that trend is a big technology trend that laboratories are facing today. Talk a little bit about those trends, and more importantly, from your perspective, how can laboratories keep up with this trend and these trends in technology?
I think this CAD/CAM trend, this digitalization trend, it's not new, right? It has accompanied us throughout the past years. So I think the revolution, we really saw the revolution, happening in 2000, whatever, 8, 9. This is when so many companies emerged suddenly, offering CAD/CAM solutions. And I believe what we see today is we're reaching the mass market. Yeah. So the phase of early adopters is really gone. And if you remember, I was actually surprised when I read the last publication of Jim Glidewell, when he really said, the time is now, and you no longer have a choice. You have to go digital. And this, is coming from someone like Jim Glidewell.
Right.
So I think there is no question, it's the time where you have to go digital. And I can, if you wish. I could actually go by the various categories of, like talking about the scanner and mill and what I see, trends there.
Because I think it's probably difficult for a laboratory out there when they have this now proliferation of different options, whether it's scanners, whether it's milling units, whether it's 3D printing, what have you, right. Software, how do they choose,
right.
How do they choose what's going to work in their lab?
Going digital is a jump on its own, but then deciding, do I go with an all-in-one solution, or do I go with bits and pieces and try to patch it together because maybe I think that's going to save me money, or maybe because I think I definitely want that type of scanner, or right. I want that type of miller. How does a lab do that?
How do they navigate?
How do you navigate through it?
Yeah. Let me start maybe first with, I have so much respect for dental technicians. And the reason being, and I have a little bit of distance, obviously, because I'm not a dental technician myself. So I look at that, with big eyes and being amazed by what these people do. And what I've seen, is I kind of describe these dental technicians and lab owners as a combination of artist and MacGyver at the same time. And so, sometimes when I say, but we have to offer to our customer this and that solution, a lot of people tell me, what? They are going to figure it out. And so it's amazing, really, what these people actually accomplish and find solutions for. That's one. The second thing is digitalization. For me, that was a paradigm shift. And I'm very happy to have been in the industry over the last 10 years and really see that evolve. It's comparable to going from typewriters to personal computers. Right, really going from analog processing to CAD/CAM technology for labs. So today, what we see as a company, if we look at the CAD side, the scanner side, I think we will definitely see a continuation of this digitalization. And what I mean by that is, more and more process steps will go digital. On the other hand, if you look at all the indications that are already available in a digital form, in the form of software modules, they're almost all there. Yeah, with the last steps of, full dentures and partials, they're there. So I think the next step in this specific area, when it comes to scanner and software, will be the linking of these various indications. That's one. If we talk about mills, mills have been around for quite some time. I really, on the CAM side, I see printers, 3D printers, being the next big thing. And I think today, what we see with printers is they are kind of in the early stage, like mills a few years ago. So when it comes to precision, when it comes to the cost, to the price model, we'll see them get way better and find them at lower price points. And for certain indications, these printers are just really well suited. When it comes to surgical guides or splints, there is certain indications, not all, certain indications where these printers really will make the race. Overall, I definitely see an accelerating acceptance of this digital trend by intraoral scanners. So the more doctors that have intraoral scanners, the more labs will have to, adopt. Otherwise, there will be digital files, and who takes care of them? And the reason why we see such a fast adoption globally of this technology is definitely also driven by the fact that, one, prices of equipment have fallen significantly. So it's simply affordable, to more labs. And I kind of call this the, democratization of CAD/CAM, right? It's simply more people being able to afford. And secondly, the evolution of new materials and new indication becoming available digital. That drives the return on investment. If I can only process one material, that's the only driver for my return on investment. If I can do 10 materials and 10 indications, obviously that helps me, to pay back my equipment faster. So this has helped the adoption in the market. And if we look, at the last part, if we look at the material sides, I'm amazed of how far zirconia has gone. If we believe that a few years from now, a few years earlier, the dentist's choice, the only real choice was, the lithium disilicate. And today we see zirconia types coming on the market that are incredibly translucent, stronger than even lithium disilicate. And with all the developments that are going on in this field, especially in the field of colors and gradient and even more translucency, and not even talking about the price point, I think this has been a decisive trend over the last years and will still be, I believe, especially in the field of colors, more gradient, as a better gradient and translucency. And the other field of materials where I see a major trend is hybrid materials. It's hybrids of resin and ceramic and composite materials, simply because you don't have to sinter them, and still they are for permanent use. So I think these two material types, I believe, will accompany us in terms of trends, in the dental industry.
Yeah,
and
I think it's a very interesting commentary, especially about zirconia, because I remember it wasn't that long ago when zirconia primarily was indicated for substructures, copings and bridge frameworks. And then we have full contour, but really only indicated for the posterior. And now with these changes in shades and translucencies, we have zirconia that can be used in any region of the mouth. We can have anterior restorations, we can have posterior restorations. And so it's that evolution of material has really pushed the acceptance or the ability of more labs to accept CAD/CAM, because now they can do more with it,
right,
and serve their customers better, which are the doctors, and ultimately serve the patients better.
Right.
Absolutely. And you know what? That's so interesting also to see how, how much labs do acknowledge, for what you can use zirconia. And still, I meet so many doctors that, they grew up with other materials. And I still see sometimes skepticism, towards this new zirconia material, and they can't believe what zirconia can do for them. And right, especially when you tell them, it's stronger and it's incredibly translucent, and you compare the two. I see a lot of, amazed and surprised faces. And I think we'll see that actually coming more and more over the next years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The second part of your question, I think that's maybe even more, interesting in terms of what can you do as a lab, right? So how do you cope with these trends? And number one for me is embrace the technology. Have no fear. And I think Jim Glidewell, when he wrote his last publication, said, you have to do it now. I think he didn't want to scare anyone. He was just, he really wanted to encourage lab owners to take on, to move into digital technology. And I think it's so important to the way you actually, you face CAD/CAM. Nothing to be afraid of. Actually, if you use it, if you use that technology, it can help you in so many ways. And what I mean by that is that's different. That can be different for, whomever you talk to. That for some people, it could be that CAD/CAM offers you to actually venture into new indications and new materials, and this offers you new revenue potentials, right?
Right.
And for others, it could simply mean that you focus on what you know best. And that could be for some, the aesthetic veneering. And again, and definitely it offers you more flexibility. So embrace technology, use it to your benefit, and being more focused can also mean that you simply have more time to focus on the relationship with your dentist, right? And if I was a lab, what I would look at when I make a decision would be that given the rapid pace of innovation and given the vast broad bandwidth of options, I would definitely make sure that I invest in something that is upgradable. No one knows what's going to be there, down the line 3-4 years. So if you invest today and you're kind of afraid of, that's a huge investment for a lab. I'm aware of that. So you invest in something and you run the risk that it's obsolete in 1 or 2, 3 years because you simply did not know that this indication would come online. It's a big frustration. So I think seeing that you go with a company that actually offers you a product that is upgradable, easily upgradable, and that grows with your needs, I think this takes away so much fear and makes the investment simpler and easier.
Yeah. You've had positions, kind of leadership positions in countries all around the world, and I'm wondering how the U.S. is ahead, behind, different. What are the differences in some of the cultures? I know Brazil and China and some others. What's your thought on that?
As an Austrian, am I allowed to talk about things where the U.S. is behind any other country?
For this show, yes.
You can, but don't forget, Donald Trump, there's a chance that he could let's not get into that. And who knows what?
Oh, who knows, he might be listening.
On the show someday, and he could say something about it.
We got him lined up for in a couple of months, yeah.
That's true. Yeah, okay.
You know what? That would be an interesting question, actually. Why it's so much fun for me actually to work in the U.S. and what I discovered and learned about Americans. And but probably that would be a different podcast.
Okay.
So yes, it's true. Our company is selling in more than 80, 90 countries in the world. So we're present on all the continents, and we see quite a lot of trends. And in my previous position, I was responsible for, I had a global function. So I was directly involved in the acquisition of our Brazilian partnership and in the setting up of our Chinese joint venture. So I can compare a little bit. I think what is similar about dental technicians all over the world is the way they are. It's really this combination of artists and MacGyver type of person. You see it and you meet this kind of person all over the world. If you look at lab sizes, you would be amazed. In Italy and in Japan, for example, you have on average, lab sizes, they're 1.5, 1.7, 1.9 people per lab. You tell that to someone in America, they would say that's unbelievable because most labs this size would not survive in the US. Although I know there are labs that size in the US, but it's fewer, it's less.
Right.
In Germany, the lab size usually has 7 to 8, 5 to 7 people. And in the US, I know that there is, I think it's a similar number in the US, 5 to 7, I believe, but there is definitely more larger and production labs. And why am I saying this? I think that this actually has an impact on not only very understandably space requirements, can you afford actually to put a large mill into a 2-people lab? Obviously, affordability of technology, 2 people can only do so and so much. So for them, the return on investment is different than from a larger lab. So yes, it has an impact, the number of the average size of the lab. There is a lot of other aspects. I mean, healthcare system definitely being one of the most important. I've seen it in Germany. I mean, if you look at Japan, the materials that are prescribed by the healthcare system, are definitely different, in Japan, in the US, and in Germany. If you look at education, education is really different in the various markets, and they place an emphasis on different things. If you look at Germany, for example, function, it plays such a major role, and that has shaped our product portfolio to a large extent. And it was actually a learning curve for us, to actually appreciate that other markets are simply educated in a different way and they focus on other things. And I think the US is a prime example of very high efficiency and productivity if you compare it to other markets. And there's two more things I believe that are worth mentioning. One is living standard, right?
Right.
If you look at India, for example, labor cost is so low that certain products just make no sense in India, you know? So they actually, they prevent this development from happening in India for at least some time. What really all have in common and all over the world is that relationship matters, you know? It's just relationship and the trust that comes along with it that drives purchasing decisions. And you find it in the US, you find it in India, and you find it in Italy. This really is another, I think, common denominator.
Yeah. Well, time has flown.
Time has flown.
As we've had a wonderful conversation with Georg Eickhoff from Amann, Girrbach, North America.
I think we'll have to invite Georg back for a second.
I think we will. I think we're going to have to
Another
continue
time.
this conversation in a second podcast, but it's been great learning about technology and how labs are both different and the same all over the world. Right. So thanks for joining us today, Georg. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much for the invitation. It was fun to talk to you. Thank you.
Yes.
Looking forward to the next invitation.
Yeah. All right. And for our listeners out there, thanks for joining us, and tell your friends and colleagues about the Dental Insiders. Until next time.